Welcome back, guys, or if you're new here, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's the 2024 Mazda CX-50 Turbo Premium. And not only is it one of the newest CUVs on the market today, but it also might just be the best looking. And today I'm going to review it for you, so you can expect to see a walk around, all the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 on GPS, and then my final thoughts to help you decide, what do you do with the CX-50? Do you buy it, or do you leave it at the lot and look at the other crossover competition? Big thanks to Goody Mazda for letting me borrow this one for the day. I'll link it below if you're interested. Otherwise, let's dive right in with this review. But if you're new to the CX-50, you need to know that the color of this Turbo Premium is Ingot Blue, which almost sounds like In God We Trust, but no, it's Ingot Blue, which is a little bit more of a matte, darker color of blue. And the fact that it's in the shadows right now doesn't really help to elaborate any lightness to the paint tone. But this is the second year of the CX-50 because it first came out last year for 2023, so the sales numbers of how it did last year are not finalized because there are still 2023 model years being sold. And no, this isn't just an exaggeration of the CX-5 where they tacked on a 0 to the model name. This is its own new vehicle model. It's wider, it's lower, it might just be the most aggressive Mazda ever, and one of the most aggressive little SUVs ever, and it offers a lot. A base model starts at about $30,000, but there's actually 8 trims of this. And this Turbo Premium is the 7th highest trim level, which starts at about $41,000. But after you tack on Destination and a couple extra goodies that this one has, it's closer to an MSRP of about $43,000. And when you go with this trim level, you get some extras. Not only do you get the turbo, but you also get the active driving display, the heated steering wheel, and automatic power folding side mirrors. Unlike the CX-5, which is actually assembled in Japan and then shipped to the United States if you live where I live, the CX-5 is actually produced off of the assembly line in Alabama at Mazda's new plant. And if you're wondering, this weighs about 3,900 pounds. It has a payload capacity about 850 pounds. But with that spunky turbo engine, it can actually tow up to about 3,500 pounds. And then it's only 15.4 feet long, about 6¼ feet wide, 5¼ feet tall. It has a wheelbase of 9 feet, while the ground clearance is about 8.6 inches with an 18-degree approach and 25-degree departure angle, and it can even do a full circle in 36 feet. And despite it only having partially functional aerodynamics to cool down those front wheels and brakes, the front bold fascia of the CX-50 looks really good. It looks really intelligent, really wise, and I'm honestly pretty impressed that Mazda gave you a lower grille, because if you want to do something like what I did on my Outback Wilderness, I added a 20-inch LED light bar to my lower grille, incognito style, mounted within the bumper. I'll link Nov's site below if you're interested. I have a discount code of Anonymous, worth 20 to 25% off any lighting order. And if you like anything that you're seeing today or you've seen so far, please consider liking this video, and then comment below what you like and what you don't like, and I'll try to incorporate that into the future. The last few things to mention here is the gas door is located on the driver's side, but even when you lock the vehicle, the gas door is still unlocked, so someone could choose to open that and siphon your gas unless you have a locking gas cap. But it's a 15.9 gallon tank. These are rated for 23 city, 29 highway, so your max road trip and range is going to be around 450 miles. And then this Turbo Premium has a 245 45 20-inch wheel and tire. It is actually a Goodyear wheel, which is pretty nice, but you only have a temporary spare in the back. And then it has the standard Mazda key, which has lock, unlock, hatch release, panic button, and when you lock it, the mirrors fold in. But you can leave that in your pocket because it does have proximity key features to lock and unlock the vehicle. The driver's side door panel has quite a few different black, dark materials. You have almost like baseball stitching, a nice beefy handle, your speakers, more Bose identified speakers, and soft touch throughout. Bottle holder, some snacks. I wish it extended out a little bit further. Nothing really on the door sill. The all-weather mats are not yet installed. Rubberized pedals, hood release, OBD2 ports under there. Memory seats, hatch release, your extra options on this one. Lighting, stock ventilation. And then your 10-way power adjusted heated ventilated seats with your really fancy pano moonroof up top. Sitting inside here is really nice. The CX-50 snugs you pretty well, and it feels really comfortable being here. Most Japanese built cars are built around the driver and they're built to be comfortable. I don't necessarily like the glare off of the glasses you can see there in the camera view, but it's really nice, and at 5'11", I can't complain too much. It's a heated leather-wrapped wheel. It has voice and volume controls on the left, paddle shifters on the back for the 6-speed, and adaptive cruise on the right. This is a top safety pick. You even have heads-up display, your blind spot monitoring, and a whole bunch of other safety features, which I'll have overlaid on the screen. But when you fire it right up, the needles dance, CX-50 appears and it roars to life. The horn, it's loud, but it is kind of high-pitched. And then you have the 10-inch display up here, which is not a touchscreen. But when you go into reverse, the backup camera is actually really clear and takes up a pretty good amount of room, but the wheel does not turn the trajectory line, so keep that in mind. Otherwise, you have all of your HVAC controls the way they should be with physical knobs and buttons. You have a 12 volt, some storage, some decent sized cup holders, but this isn't an American car, so you can't fit your half-gallon size big gulp right there. It's gonna hit the dashboard. Otherwise, you have all your ways to get down to drive and manual mode if you want to play around with the paddle shifters and play musical simulated gears, and then your sport mode and your off-road mode to change the suspension and the transmission tuning. Otherwise, electronic parking brake, auto vehicle hold. This can actually change the volume, but it can also turn off the screen if you hold on to it. You can set something up with start, and then navigation, music, the back button, and the home. And then you even have the French style doors to give you probably a pretty average center console for this class with some USBs down there. Otherwise, up top you have your garage door settings, you have some lighting, you have your power moonroof controls, and then you have a spot for your shades. LED lighting, you have your mirror, and then you have the silly extension because this, as the whole visor, doesn't extend out. Otherwise, let's turn it off and let's hop in the back. The back of the CX-50 follows the same theme and design language, nothing really to write home about or to mention on the door panel, but it is all soft touch, darker materials with a decent sized pocket. Again, nothing on the door sill. This is the 60 split. These seats are light, they're easy to maneuver, but you will notice that the back seat of Mazdas is usually one of the downfalls because these are slightly shorter vehicles than some of the compact crossovers that they compare to. There's just not a lot of backseat room for full-size adults. But that kind of adds to the sportiness of this type of vehicle. You do have some plugins, some ventilation, and you have your cup holders in the center with a really sturdy armrest. And sitting back here, it is a really nice place to be. But let's hop out and I'll show you the hatch. The back of the CX-50 I think looks pretty good other than the fake aerodynamic ventilation on each side just above the wheel. But there's 4 ways to get into the back of the hatch. You can either push the button that's on the dashboard, climb through the back seats, push the button that's underneath the Mazda emblem, or just do the laziest of all like I'm gonna do and use the power liftgate. You paid for it, you might as well use it. And then back here you have 31 cubic feet of storage when the back seats are up, which is actually really nice. But keep in mind, the slope of the back being only 15.5 feet long is kinda limit what you can fit back here. And then when you drop the seats using the handles, things like that, you have up to 56. So that's where this does fall short a little bit compared to some of the other crossovers that might have closer to 60 to 70 cubic feet back here. But it's really nice. You have ventilation behind the wheel wells. You have a 12 volt. You have some bag clips to tie down. And then you have your temporary spare tire with your Bose speaker back here. The rear passenger side has no new surprises. You'll notice that the windows are darkly tinted from the factory, which I appreciate. And then this is the 40 split. And if you're fortunate enough to ride shotgun, nice big door panel, Bose speakers advertised. Again, nothing on the door sill. The mats aren't installed yet, but you do have the VIN access point right there, which is pretty cool. And then it's still a power seat and heated and ventilated, but you do lose a few options. Thankfully, those options don't affect my backpack. It's still having a good time. And then a non-locking glove box with kind of a tray in between. I don't see any 12 volts in here or underneath in the wheel well though. But it is a nice place to be. But I think, guys, it's time to come around to the front. I'm gonna pop the hood and I'm gonna show you what the little 2.5 liter turbo engine looks like. Under the hood is the 2.5 liter stout little turbo 4-cylinder engine by Mazda with the turbo hiding on the backside where the exhaust is. When you put regular fuel in this, it makes about 227 horse at 5,000 RPM, so it really doesn't rev out that high before it makes peak power. And then peak torque 310 comes on at 2,000 RPM, but when you feed this little puppy some premium dog food or premium fuel, it actually goes up about 30 horse to 256 and about 320 foot-pound-feet of torque. And it is front-wheel drive biased, so you can see it's mounted transversely. The serpentine belt, the alternator, all that's on the passenger side. It has the oil fill, dipstick, all the reservoirs throughout, easy to get to. The batteries on the driver's side. I'll show you a little bit more of that turbo. So Mazda's all-wheel drive system, definitely not as good as Subaru's, but in other people's testing off-road and in snow, Mazda does seem to do a better job to be a little bit more reactive and responsive than something like a CR-V or a RAV4, which in some of those models, those are electronically controlled all-wheel drive. So it's not mechanical the same way as Subaru is, but Mazda's all-wheel drive is better than the average CUV. Let's drop the hood. And then this is really my favorite part. I get to time travel and teleport you to one of my favorite roads. I'll show you how it drives, and we'll do a 0 to 60 on GPS. Initial driving impressions of the CX-50 Turbo. It has a lot of get up and go. You can kind of hear the blow-off valve sound when you let off the gas. And it just feels really sporty with how wide and low it is. But with that said, if you are a smaller driver, or in my case 5'11", maybe 190 pounds, I feel kind of small sitting inside here. I feel like the seats could better accommodate maybe a little bit wider person, but not an overly tall person, because the roof, the sunroof, is not that far above my head. So if you're sitting up, if you're straightening out for a minute, you might feel like your hair could rub against the ceiling. So whether you're wearing a hat or you have spiky hair like I do, just keep that in mind, that this is a wide and low vehicle. But it drives really well, as is typical Mazda fashion. There's a lot of emphasis on driver-centric ergonomics. It's comfortable, it feels good. That baseball style stitching just looks really neat. The leather-wrapped heated wheel, the ventilated and heated seats. There's a lot of creature comforts for about $43,000, and it feels solid, it feels really well made. The windows though, if you guys follow my channel, you know I've reviewed a ton of Subarus, and the total surface area of that side window and the front, quite frankly the rear, basically all of them, they basically all are maybe 50% of the surface area that like a Subaru Forester has. So you do sit up kind of tall in here as you need to because of the low roof line, but you don't have as good a visibility as you do in a Forester, a CR-V, even a RAV4. A lot of those, there are trade-offs. Another trade-off that favors the Mazda though is that this has a real transmission. It has a 6-speed that behaves how you would expect it to, which I really appreciate that Mazda includes that. And then because they also offer the 2.5-liter turbo engine in basically every model that they make, there's a lot of options. A lot of the competition, they're going down to these 1.5-liter little turbo engines, or these naturally aspirated 2 and 2.5-liter engines. So to have what you get in the CX-50, either a naturally aspirated 187 horsepower or this 256 horsepower turbo, it's honestly quite nice. As well as the Bose system, the 12 speakers in here sound fantastic. Bose and Mazda have had a partnership for a really long time, and I'm really impressed with the quality and the clarity that you get for $43,000. This feels confident and stable on the road, 9-foot wheelbase, almost 9 inches of ground clearance, and you can easily throw in an all-terrain tire like what the Meridian Edition has that I reviewed last year, comes bone stock with. But this is a cool vehicle. It's one that I think you guys should definitely test drive. I definitely recommend you at least give it a chance. But keep in mind, it's wide, it's not very tall, and there are trade-offs to driving a more sporty, focused CUV. But let's do a 0 to 60. Of course, I'll be in sport mode with traction off. We'll see what it can do. I'll show the GPS graph, and then we'll hop to my final thoughts afterwards. And true 0 to 60 came in at 6.97 seconds. Given the fact that our altitude is over 3,000 feet, that's really not that bad. Here are my final thoughts. Well guys, my final thoughts are, this CUV is aggressive looking, moderately luxurious, and decently quick with its turbo engine doing a sub 7 seconds 0 to 60. It honestly offers a lot for just north of $40,000, especially in today's market. And its safety and capability are pretty decent, not gonna lie. Most importantly, it's a Mazda, so it has Japanese-built reliability and a real 6-speed automatic transmission, which is becoming exceedingly difficult to find. But it's not for everyone, and it compromises headroom and back seat room, and what is often what buyers look for in CUVs and crossovers. So, is it worth it? Well, that's going to be up to you guys. So go get out there and drive one and decide for yourself. but also test drive the competition to ensure that you make the best decision for you. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking my video. Subscribe if you want to watch more, and otherwise I wish you the best. Take care.